Hey guys, welcome to another Cinema 4D tutorial on sub-D modeling. Now, I originally was just going to end this series and not really be concerned with it anymore, but not long ago I came across an odd shaped object and I thought I would give it a try to see if I could model it, and after spending about an hour or so I was able to get it, so I thought I would share it with you guys and then make a tutorial out of it. So what I saw was a fitting for this particular sink faucet collection here. And no, don't worry, we're not going to be modeling this entire thing. What I'm mainly concerned about was this section right here. And I'm not sure the name of this particular type of fitting, but you can see that it is cylindrical in shape, and it has these 6 faces that have been sliced or cut off of the sides. And when these 6 faces come down to the bottom, then what we've got is they are extruded out, and then it goes right back to being a cylindrical shape. So that's what we're going to be modeling in this tutorial. And it's actually easier than what most of you are probably thinking. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to create a cylinder. And I'm going to turn the caps off because we don't need them. And I'm going to take the radius to 100 and the height to 100 as well. Now notice on this image here, it appears as though that there are 6 faces that have been cut off or sliced. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to assume there's 6. I don't see there being 7 or 8 because that would be a little too much for this. So I believe that there's going to be 6 of these sliced faces. So we're going to take the rotational segment to 6. And what we want to do is I'm just going to rotate the camera so that the Z axis, which is this blue arrow here, it's pointing off into Z space. So I want to position the camera and make this editable. And what I want to do is I want to select all of the faces except for that front one right there that's pointing off into Z space. So I'm just going to delete those like that. Go into point mode, and you can see we've got some points we need to clean up, so just optimize that to get rid of those. So I'm going to go to a front view. I'm going to change the display, and I'm going to drop this cylinder object, which is now basically just a square poly. I'm going to drop that into a hypernerb. And what I want to do is I want to go into polygon mode. I'm going to right click, go down to subdivide. I'm going to pull up the little window for it. And just make sure that the subdivision count here is set to 1. We'll click OK. And that will subdivide it for us. I'm going to go into point mode. And I'm just going to grab these 2 outer points up here at the top. Pull those down. And more than likely we'll just need to scale those in just a little bit. And that's just to help kind of get that rounded shape here, that rounded arch shape. That's right there. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is go into polygon mode, select all 4 polygons, and we need to use the extrude inner tool, and we need to extrude inner. Now that's a bit too much. Of course, that's way too much. We only want just a little bit of an inner extrusion. So I'm just going to come over here to the offset value. I'm going to type in 0.6, and that's basically all we want there is just a value of about 0.6. Now notice that when we did that, I'm going to turn the hypernerb off. Notice when we did that, it created 2 polygons down at the bottom, and they're elongated. There's one here, and there's also one there. Now we need to delete those because it has created the edge right there that's at an angle, and we don't want that. We actually want this polygon here, as well as this one. We want them to be sitting flush with the bottom one that's over here. So let's select those 2 bottom elongated horizontal polygons and delete them. We'll go into point mode, optimize to get rid of that extra point there. And what we need to do is select this outside point and get its Y value. So you can see it's -50. So we want to select this point here, and then we'll hold down shift, we'll select the middle point as well as this one over here. Just make sure you don't select those outside points. And then over here for the Y value, we just want to type in -50, and that will bring those down to where now they're sitting flush and in line, and everything is nice and straight. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is create a MoGraph cloner object. Drag the cylinder into the cloner. Take the cloner, change the orientation or the mode to radial. We want to take the count up to 6 because remember that there are 6 faces. And the radius needs to come down, but we just need to switch the plane over here to XZ. then take the radius down to 0. Now we have our 6 faces that are lined up. Now we can take the cloner object and we can make that editable, and we just need to select those 6 faces there, and we can make them one object by using the connect objects plus delete, and then we'll go into point mode and we'll optimize that to weld all those together, drop the cylinder into the hypernurb, turn it on, and there's the beginning of our little fitting. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is we need to go into edge mode, and we want to select the top loop of edges along the very top. So I'm going to use the loop selection, but you can see that by doing that, it's not selecting all the way around, it's actually kind of looping here around just one of these. So what we want to do is use the select boundary loop option here. So we'll turn that option on. Now we can select that top loop. There we go. So we'll click that, go grab the move tool, and I'm just going to hold down Control and drag up to extrude those edges up to about there. Now notice that they look a little bit weird and we need to kind of flatten that out. So we're just going to take the size value over here for Y and we're going to 0 that out. And now that has flattened it out for us. Alright, so now what we want to do is we want to transform this selection of edges. Actually, it needs to be points. So we're going to go into point mode, use the loop selection to select the top row of points, and we want to transform this into this 6-sided array here. We want to transform this into a circular pattern. Now, those of you who actually followed along with the rim modeling tutorial, in part 3 of that, towards the end, I used the points to circle script. So you should have that installed already. If you don't, then you'll need to download that. And I went ahead and I put that download link in the description to this video. So you can install that script. Once you have it installed, then you're going to need to use it on this part. So I have mine docked over here in a palette. So I'm just going to go to a top view, and I'm going to go ahead and execute that script. And you can see by doing so, it is now taking those points and put them in a circular array or a circular pattern. So now what we need to do is scale these up. And I'm going to grab the scale tool, and I'm going to scale these out to where it actually sits flush with this outside edge. So what I want to do is go to a top view, and let's just say this point right here, I'm going to scale and watch it until it sits flush over top of this point here. So I'm just going to click and drag to scale out, and then once that point lines up right about there, then I know that everything is where I want it. And now let's see, we can go and just kind of take these points and push them all down to about, probably about right there will be okay. Turn the hypernurb on. It's probably not going to look really good at the moment. Alright, so we need to go back to edge mode with those edges selected along the top. Just going to click and drag up, holding Control to extrude. Scale those edges in to maybe about right there. And we'll go one more time. Scale those in. Probably bring that down just a little bit. Alright, so if we turn the hypernurb on now, the dome portion here on the top, that doesn't look really all that bad. The problem is down here where all of these arches are kind of like coming together. So the fix for that is we just need to go into point mode, and I'm going to grab the knife tool in line mode, and we want to just connect these 2 points here. So we'll just make the cut from the point there to that point, and we just want to do this all the way around. Now probably what we could have done earlier is we could have used the bridge tool before we extruded all these edges up. We could have just used the bridge tool to bridge in the gap and then just extruded from there and saved ourselves a little bit of time. So once we have all of these cuts made, we'll need to select that edge in the middle, because you can see we've got 2 triangles there. So I'm going to select that edge along with all the other edges that we just created when we made that cut there. All right, and I'm just going to right click and choose dissolve to get rid of those. Now notice, if we go back to a front view, notice here that these are actually coming down, and you notice that there's a little bit of an error there. And the error is that the point is down here, but the polygon is being kind of distorted, and what we've got here is somewhat of a degenerate poly that's not correct. So I'm going to go change the display to line mode, go into point mode. I'm going to just use the rectangle selection. I'm going to turn off select visible, and I'm going to select those points there as well as those. And let's see, we probably also need to, we need to select these here. So I'll just use the live selection to get that one and that one there. Now we just need to pull these up. And we want to pull them up because right now you can see that these edges are coming down. We actually want them to be pointing kind of up. And that will get rid of that degenerate poly. So we'll just pull all of those up to make them point upward a little bit like that. And that will alleviate the problem. If we go back and change the display, you can see if we look at this area now, that degenerate poly is gone. Now if we take these points and we push them back down, notice now we get that error once again. So all we have to do is just pull those points up, and that will take care of that problem for us. Okay, now we got one more little bit of an issue, and that is these points, go to a top view, they need to come out. You can see they're kind of sitting inward, and we just want to scale them out until we get a perfect straight line or edge across there. So I'm just going to grab the scale tool and just click and scale those out until they're in line about right there. All right, so we'll turn the hypernerve back on, and there we go. So that cleaned up that edge there for us, made it look a little better. Now we want to go back to edge mode, and we want to use the loop selection on the bottom. So we want the very bottom row of edges, and I'm going to go back to a top view and use the scale tool, hold down Control, and just scale those out. Okay, now we want to go into point mode, and we want to do a loop selection on that outside row there of points, which is down there on the bottom. And we want to use that point to circle script one more time. Now it's taking them inward, so all we need to do is just scale them out. Now notice they've been scaled out, but they've also been twisted into a saw blade type pattern, and we don't want that. So we just want to grab the rotate tool, and we just want to rotate these to where they'll line back up like that. Because before, they were kind of twisted like that in a spiral pattern, and we don't want that. We just want to line those back up. All right, now we want to grab the scale tool, and we want to scale these back in. But we don't want to go too far, because on the image here, you can see that that edge, when it comes down, it almost meets the outside edge of this cylindrical bottom part. So we don't want to go too far with it and have this edge sitting way out too far, but basically what we want is just a very small gap of space between this edge here of this face that's been cut out and this bottom lip of that circular surface. So we know that the circular surface is going to be over here on that edge right there. So we just want to click and drag in to scale those in until we get to maybe about right there. All right, so now since we've got that, go back to edge mode, and with the bottom edges selected, we'll just extrude those down. Turn the hypernerve on, and it's not going to look right because we need to insert some control edges to help tighten up some of those corners. So we'll do that. We'll just grab the knife tool. And I've got that bottom row of edges selected. I'm just going to deselect those. Go back to the knife tool. I'm going to go to loop mode, and we'll just make a loop cut about there. And we also want to make one more loop cut on the bottom edge about right there, so we got a nice square shape there. Hypernerve back on one more time, and there we go. So I'm just going to pull this up so we can see it. All right, so there's our odd shaped fitting, and the bottom is nice and circular. The top is circular. We can make extrusions off of that to continue on with our faucet piece if you wanted to. Now I know that looking at this in the viewport, I know that right around here and also in this area in here, it looks like it's kind of distorted and a little warped. So let's use a spline to confirm whether or not this is truly warped or not. So we can go to a top view, change the display, and I'll just grab a circle spline and we'll scale the circle spline back in till it almost touches that edge, about right there. And you can see that that circle spline is perfect all the way around, and also the edge of our bottom circular cylindrical part is also matching it perfectly as well. So even though it kind of looks warped down here on the bottom in some areas, it's just your eyes playing tricks on you. As you can see from the top, the spline confirms that it is indeed circular and lining up perfectly. Alright, so that about wraps up this tutorial on sub-D modeling. And more than likely what I will do is, instead of ending this series, I'll just keep it open, and occasionally when I can find the time, and perhaps I'll find another type of object to model and make a tutorial lesson out of it, and then I will upload it. So for right now, this will probably be the last modeling one that I do for a little while, unless I can find something else soon. So I won't end this series, I will keep it going, just in case something else comes up and I want to model it. Alright, so I guess that about concludes this, and as always, I will catch you guys in the next tutorial.